Welcome back to the Matrix, and it's the Matrix you are. The Matrix. How's it feel, Neo? Today we got ourselves a banger daily market news analysis. What is up? What is up? How's everyone feeling out of 10? Let me know down in the comments down below. Make sure you guys are spamming that like button, hitting that share, so other people can spam that like button. Let's get this party started, y'all. As of the time of recording, it is December 5th, 2025. Bitcoin sitting at $89,400. But what does this mean? Are we cooked? Are we over with? Is the rally done? I knew we shouldn't have got our hopes up, Ski. As of right now, though, this is just a higher low. We talked about this. We could go as low as 85K, and that is A-OK. A-OK. But as of right now, this is 1, 2, working on the third higher low, and we've had 2 higher highs. Ultimately, bullish, bearish, something in between. We'll find out. Find out next time on Dragon Ball Ski. We'll find out, but ultimately, I think we're rallying. We're continuing the rally to $100,000. And people, it's crazy how quickly, like just one red day, people are like, got it wrong again, Ski. What have you done for me lately? But, the thing that I'm keeping an eye on. Now, this is micro right here, so we'll talk about micro, and I want to be clear because we did like a full deep dive on the Russell yesterday. That's micro. I want to be clear. So this could, this will play out in the next, probably by this time next week, probably 2-3 days. We'll see, like, hey, we'll probably start to getting into the higher high structure by this time next week. However, it's pretty neutral as well. But the Russell, though, that could take some time to play out, even if we're going into, so I just want to be clear about this, even if we're going to break out, what we know that this is a really early indication, as in, it wasn't until basically the buying climax after the Russell was completely done that the rally even started at all. Okay, so this is going to be early, right? So even in, the last time around, when we look at things and we keep things in perspective, from the time of the all-time high until we got to the buying climax, that was 146 days. Okay, now I'm not saying it's going to take 146 days, but what I'm saying is the Russell is an earlier indication than, everything else. So this is, I don't want to get everyone's hopes up, and I know, let me speak clearly here. I know it can be like exhausting, right? This crypto space, and it's just like, it's always yes or no, up or down. And there's this like feeling of like you're always on edge. But this is going to take probably, I would say by Christmas, we're going to get our answers. Is this going to break out or is it going to reject? But we could be hanging out here for, a couple days, even like a couple weeks before we get our answer. And this is sort of the, here's the situation here. This is basically what I think that we're doing. And this would have us even putting in a higher high and then another higher low before truly then breaking out, right? So things are going to rally. It's not like, you have to go all the way, and we'll talk about this. So this was the 2021, and also same thing for 2017. It was the same thing, right? So that you bottomed out in 2016, and then you rallied all the way until August of 2018, and then that was it. But really, this was the buying climax over here. Same thing, January of 2018. Okay, so you definitely have a rally along the way. The things are going to wake up along the way. It's not like you're going to go all the way up, and then we're going to get to the buying climax, and then it starts. But that's when it's going to start getting euphoric. So we'll have some rally, and we'll take a look. Like, we'll just kind of recap this a little bit. What do we even have? What is this? This is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was already at basically the top by the time the Russell had gotten to the buying climax. It had already got to 58K. Not necessarily the best example. But Ethereum, like there was a good rally here. The buying climax is right here. I need to move my phone. So the buying climax is right here. Let me put this right here. Luna's up 93%. That's kind of crazy. So from the all-time high till the buying climax, Ethereum did a 3.3x. So it's not like there's not going to be nothing. You know what I mean? But the euphoria was from the buying climax of the Russell to the upthrust. That was the whole entire rally. Okay. But this is a little bit more macro. It's not super, super macro. But it is, it's going to take some time to play out. It's not going to just be tomorrow. And that's not what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting next week or anything like that. So I want to be clear. I didn't make it clear yesterday. I'm trying to be clear with my words because I know people take everything that I say as gospel, either for me or against me. There's no in between. Happy, thank goodness it's Friday, savages. Everyone pulling for Indiana. Everyone except for me. Ohio against the world, baby. Ohio against the world. What up, Ski? 10 out of 10. Hello, everyone. You think VeChain is going to go to 10 cents? I do. The question is, how long is it going to take? Sooner or later. Do you think we can still get an alt season? Yes. What do we need for an alt season? We need the Russell. What has been different? This is like, we'll talk about this again, but I did a full breakdown on this yesterday. What do you need for an alt season? You need the Russell to break out fully, not just at an all-time high, and go into a price discovery, right? So this would be like, let's lay it out clearly. So if we get into 252, 260, those are all-time highs. Price discovery is like 290, 280. So that's the difference. So we need a clear breakout for the Russell and then going into distribution. That's every time in 2017 and in 2021. That's what took place. Okay, so here's the C19 crash. Here's the all-time high. From the all-time high to the buying climax, there was stuff that was rallying hard, like Ethereum did a 3x, but it was only during the distribution of the Russell, that's when things went crazy. So if you're keeping score, that's also what happened in 2017. The Russell breaks out, goes into price discovery, and then goes into distribution. So if you're keeping score at home, perhaps we are right here. All-time high, November of 2020. We just had a really big bear trap with the tariffs, and we're flirting with all-time highs. Okay? Alt season started here. So we got a little ways to work. We got some work to do, but we're on the right path. And this has a setup for one of the biggest bear traps in history. Now, there's only two things that are going to happen here. That's it. When you're at all-time highs, there's only two outcomes. And by the way, if you're wondering where did I pull this fractal from the C19. I have it stretched a little bit more. I have it stretched to exaggerate a bit. But the structure is the same. Literally the same. There's only two outcomes. Either we're going to get rejected, and you can make a case for that, and we're going to roll over, or we're going to break out. Those are our outcomes. That's it. That's the only thing that can happen when you're at an all-time high. There's nothing else. Now, it doesn't mean like in the next hour during this live stream. It doesn't mean tomorrow. It could take a couple of weeks to get the decision on what it's going to do. But that is the next thing. Either the Russell breaks out. That would set up one of the craziest bear traps in history, or we get rejected. And a rejection does not mean a red day. It does not mean a red week even. A rejection would mean a lower low. That would be a rejection. A rejection would be like so. That would be a rejection. Okay, so you'd have to take this out. So you could be red all the way down to 230. And that would be okay. That's what I'm saying. Like, it could take a little bit of time to play out. It's not going to be so black and white and we're going to know tomorrow. I don't think we're going to know tomorrow. I think it's going to take a little bit. What I think is going to happen is this. What I think is going to happen is something like this. We get a slight breakout. This would be a bull trap. Alts would probably rally a little bit. Bear trap, followed by a breakout. And it would really only start to heat up once you really got into it. Once you really get into the thick of it. I actually don't know if it would be this exaggerated, to be honest. Because it's probably only going to go to like 290. Even if it does break out. Let's scrunch this down a little. It's probably look something like that. Probably a little something like that. So there you go. A higher low is what we're looking for here. Team higher low. If you're rooting for alt season, you're rooting for a higher low for the Russell. Because I don't think it's just going to rip in a straight line. I don't think that. We're neutral on the daily. A little hot on the... Not really. Neutrally hot on the 3-day. But we got really hot. Same thing, too. Oh, man. Mamma mia. Like, look at this. Look at where we got here. So this is January of 2020. Okay. Mamma mia. And then you had your big... What happened here? We had our 10-10. Obviously, it was worse. For the rest of the markets, it wasn't as bad for the stocks, although the stocks did get crushed. But the same thing, where you flirted with breaking out here, and then a big black swan happened. You started getting back up here, got across to the upside, and then you got really overheated on the buying climax. This is the buying climax, and then you started to get a bearish divergence. Bearish divergence is basically price is the same or up, which it was up, slight uptrend here, while RSI is going down. That's a bearish divergence. That would signal distribution. We don't have that yet. We don't have that yet. So it's got some room to go. And I think it will. But I don't think it's going to be tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be next week. It's going to take a little bit to play itself out, especially being at all-time high, at decision. Like, that's going to be the most... There's going to be some whoop, whoop. There's going to be some juke moves going on. There's going to be some Barry Sanders crossovers for sure. You better believe it. You better believe. BitUnex or BTC or BTCC. BitUnex. BitUnex, yeah, for sure. What up, Sonic Savages? What is up? What's up, Ski? Save us, Ski. Jeremy says, so is the 4-year cycle basically broken? Why wasn't there euphoria? If you wanna say that we're doing the 4-year cycle, if you're clinging on to the 4-year cycle, then your argument would be that Trump inauguration was euphoria. Like Trump winning the presidency was euphoria. If you're clinging on to the 4-year cycle. That is the blockchain backers theory. We'll see if he's correct. I don't necessarily agree. I think that the euphoria, personally, if the Russell breaks out and goes into price discovery, I think the peak euphoria is going to be when the United States, if I'm predicting what I think the event will be, like something that's obvious, something that's very obvious that we can all see coming from a mile away that has not happened. So what could that be? I think it would be the Bitcoin strategic reserve, where they actually buy Bitcoin, where they actually announce that they're going to be buying Bitcoin. That hasn't, like, people think that that's dead. It's not dead, though. It just hasn't happened. That's still there. And so, like, if I'm thinking through what would be the peak euphoric event of what can we see coming from a mile away, of what are people going to be waiting for, it's going to need to pick up some steam, obviously. It's not like I said, they're not going to pass it tomorrow. It's got some work to do. But that could be the thing where the thing that we see coming from a mile away. But if your argument is 4-year cycle, when was euphoria? If I'm making the bear case, then you would say it was when Trump got elected. That was the peak euphoria. I don't know if that was the case, though. We'll see. World Cup 2026. Just like in 2019, no euphoria. Apathy. Okay, Abbas. I like this. That wasn't a bull run, though. Okay, I'm with you, actually. If you want to tell me, am I saying your name correct? Let's check out. I want to see 2019. Was in here right before C19. Okay, if you want to tell me 2024 was 2019, I'll buy that. I'll buy that for $1. I will buy that for $1. What does that mean? Let's look at Bitcoin. But that's not a full run, though. That's a rally. That's a retrace rally. Like, you're saying that what happened was here. A retrace rally. I'll buy that for $1. That means we just got our C19, 1010. Like, I will buy that for $1. That's my bull case. This was not a full bull run, though. This was a retrace rally. Can you make a video on how to buy Monero? I think probably the easiest way to buy a Monero is Trade Ogre. I've made videos with Trade Ogre before. That's probably the easiest way. Just send in Solana or Bitcoin or whatever, XRP, and then swap it on Trade Ogre. That's probably the easiest way to buy Monero. $100K next. I agree. Usually euphoria includes euphoria, right? I would agree. Like, I don't think that we've had it. Okay, I told my Telegram this earlier today, and I'll tell you guys this. If I can be honest, if I can be transparent, if I can be vulnerable, I am way more bullish right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, medium term. I'm way more bullish right now than I'm leading on. Partially because I'm a little bit skittish, because I just bet my beard and I lost. Partially because I don't want to be labeled a permabull. But if you've watched me any amount of time, you know my biggest weakness is I see things painfully in advance. Painfully. And I move off of it sometimes. And I think structurally, if the Russell breaks out, then I was correct all along, but I picked the wrong number for Bitcoin. Like, the number that I picked was wrong. The structure was right. Does that make sense? Now, I have a bear case, but if the Russell breaks out and goes into price discovery, I think that I was right all along. I just moved off of it, and that's a bad tendency. That's a bad habit. Like, I've done that multiple times throughout my career of doing this, where I will see exactly what the move is, and it's painfully in advance, and then I move off of it. So to go back to you, like, break of structure, usually euphoria includes euphoria, though, right? I would agree. And if the Russell breaks out into price discovery, that would mean that we haven't seen it yet. But I know that everyone takes what I say as gospel, either for me or against me. And I don't want to give anyone false hope, so I want to try to remain as neutral as possible. And I want to try to just present the data, present the facts. And then, maybe along the way, I'll give you my opinion on what I personally think is going to happen. But from a personal standpoint, I am way more bullish right now than I'm leading on. And perhaps, maybe I'm scared. Maybe it's disbelief for me. Maybe it's a disbelief rally where I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little skittish of 1010. Maybe I'm a little skittish that I had to shave my beard. We'll see. But I know, since I've been doing this since 2021, I've done it, I don't know how many times. I will chart out the exact move, and I move off of it. That's a weakness of mine. I've done that. I don't know how many times I've done that. On different coins, too. Trade Ogre got shut down. Okay, well, then that's a lie. I don't know. I haven't bought Monero in a while. I'll figure that out. I'll make a video on how to buy Monero. I'll make a video for you guys. Okay, I did not know that. Thanks for that information. So I'll circle back to that. So I gave bad information just then. So I'll make a video on how do you buy Monero. There's definitely websites. Probably your DEX, some sort of DEX is going to be your best bet. The best bet. How does make sense? Can you analyze ARC or Solana? I got you. I just don't get why alts are just bleeding and Bitcoin dominance drop already. It's frustrating. Yeah, that's the thing that's been confusing about this whole thing is Bitcoin dominance looks very weak. Clear signs of distribution. Clear signs of bearish divergence. This is a bearish divergence. Price is going higher. RSI is going lower. Super weak. I just think if the Russell breaks out, this is going to roll over hard. And I just think it's going to be, a game of patience. And the good thing is, the Russell isn't like moving averages. So people say, moving averages is, it's a lagging indicator. And that's true. The Russell is not a lagging indicator. That is definitely a pre-indicator. And so if we're looking at the Russell and trying to determine what's going to happen, we're going to have to be patient. because it's going to do it far in advance before, anything else. So that's kind of a prequel setup. We see Bitcoin dominance is super weak. We see gold is just seemingly in distribution, right? Cannot seem to make a new all-time high here. Struggling. Super oversold here. On the monthly, the most oversold that we have ever been since 1979, even slightly above 1979. The most oversold at this point since 1967, when gold was still on the gold standard. Gold is the most oversold that it has been. Overbought, excuse me. Overbought. The most overbought it has been since 1967, when gold was still on the gold standard. You can't even see it. And then what are we seeing? While this is happening, we're seeing silver is ripping. What does that signal? Silver's ripping while gold is just chilling. Gold is not making all-time highs. It's just chopping here. It's getting weaker. It's distributing. Distributing into what? Silver. What is silver to gold? If Bitcoin is gold, silver is the altcoins. What is this showing? By the way, this is a bearish divergence. You see, super hot. Silver's breaking out. Going higher and higher. Gold is not. What is that showing? What is that telling us? That is telling us that gold is rotating. What happened in August of 2020? Gold topped. Started rotating. Then what happened? November of 2020, the Russell puts in a new all-time high. Then what happened? The Russell goes into price discovery. This is super macro stuff, and it's going to take a while to play itself out, but that is exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened last time. That is exactly the same thing. So let's go through this. Let's talk one by one. I think people are so married to the 4-year cycle, and either they're going to be right or they're going to be wrong. But either way, they are married to the 4-year cycle. I am not so sure. I'm not so sure. So let's try to play this out. The first thing that happened was gold topped. Like, how did the whole cycle play itself out? What happened first? Gold topped. Let's find gold. All right. This might be a little bit too much. We might have to go back. Let's go back and forth. Let's do it like this. That would be okay. We'll do it like that. Let me make sure you guys can see. Okay. So the first thing that happened, we had the C19, right? Gold pumps after that. And it tops out July, August of 2020. Gold tops. August 2020. All right, now I don't know the answer for silver, but I know what happened with the Russell, so let's find out together. Like, what happened to silver after August of 20? I don't know the answer to that, but I know what the Russell did, so maybe silver's not a part of the equation. We're going to find out together. Okay, August of 20, silver also topped. Gold was on a downtrend. Silver was in distribution. It was just pretty much, it never went lower, really. It just kind of marched its way higher until now. But more of a distribution, where gold was on a downtrend after August of 2020. So not really as much of a factor. Did we have... Okay. I know what happened with the Russell, though. In fact, let's do 3. Okay. All right. So let's circle it out here so we can talk through this, because there's like first order of business, gold had to top. That was number 1. So let's mark out C19 so we can kind of see where we're at here. Actually, let's do this. There we go. So that's the C19. And then we'll do another one like this. Whoops. We'll mark this as the gold top, which it was August of 20. Okay. Okay. What are you doing, bro? Thank you. Let's put this over here. All right, so there's the gold top. This was alt season. From new all-time high, from the buying climax to the upthrust, which is, this is just, without being a Wyckoff nerd, just know that this rounded top, that is distribution. That's what that's called. That's distribution. That's a topping structure. Okay? We're going to outline this box here on the Russell, and I'll show it to you. We'll do the total 3. This right here is when alt season took place. That was the entire run. Okay, that was the whole run. We'll do the total 3 here. I'll show you. All right. We can see. Look, I have it circled. Let's get it the same date. Boom, right there. This was the buying climax of the Russell. On the bottom. So this is the buying climax of the Russell right here. Also, important to note, gold had really cooled off. That was basically, whoops. Get out of here, Leo. What in the world? Gold had really cooled off at that point. Okay, these are all the same dates. Okay, we have them all circled, just for reference. So you have C19, C19, gold top right here. Let's put this on the total 3. August of 20. Boom. Look at this. Dead, bro. Dead. Nothing. Dead. Total 3. Dead. 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 Let's do that. Let's put this one over here too. There we go. All right. C19 crash. Gold top. Gold top for the Russell. Russell was waking up, flirting with breaking out when the gold had topped. You start pulling back. Then what happens? The Russell goes into price discovery. What is price discovery? Price discovery is a full, it's not an all-time high. It's a full leg higher. That's what price discovery. Most of the time, it's the 1618. And I'll show it to you. Let's put this on the 3-day real quick so we can just show you. What does that look like actually when we get down to numbers? So if we pull a Fibonacci from the top of 2018 to the bottom of the C19, look, the 1618 Fibonacci retracement, if I zoom in, the entire top was at the 1618. Okay, the whole structure was at the 1618. That's price discovery. Okay, it's not like a little itty bitty all-time high. This was an all-time high, this was an all-time high, this was an all-time high, this was an all-time high. This is price discovery. Okay, everybody with me? All right, let's go back to the daily. Man, oh my. This is big, right? This is macro too, so it's not tomorrow. You got to understand. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be this live stream. But this is how things took place. Okay, the first thing that happened, gold topped August of 2020. During the gold top, we can see at the bottom, we have the total 3. That's just everything that is not Bitcoin and Ethereum. Dead. Bear market lows at the gold top. I will zoom out. It is dead, bro. Let's put it on the 3-day so we can really show. Dead, bro. Let's, in fact, put this all on the 3-day because there's a lot of data here. Let's put this on the 3-day. Okay, here we go. All right. Man, that's crazy. The bottom of gold, too, was the top of the run. Pretty much. No, that's a lie. Okay. Top of gold. Right here. That was the first thing. August of 2020. That was the first thing that took place. Okay. We can see where the Russell is during the top of gold. Okay. Now, after that, it was flirting with making an all-time high. Okay. Where do we see the Russell or the total 3? Everything, all the altcoins not named Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bear market lows. Dead. 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 All right. This goes down. As this is going down, the Russell, we can see the dates are scrolling to the right. You can see it scrolling the same time. The Russell, as gold has topped, is going into price discovery. Okay. Now, I need to point your attention. Let's zoom in on the distribution of the Russell. This is the buying climax right here. We have it marked. The buying climax, the buying climax, the buying climax. This is the same date. The buying climax of the Russell 2000. Now, what you'll notice, there was a nice run from the total 3. If I scroll from the gold top or the all-time high, basically. Let's go to the exact all-time high. The first time we got an all-time high, that's when things started to heat up a little bit for the total 3. Now we're scrolling together. We can see we're scrolling together. Started to heat up once we made an all-time high. All right. We're scrolling together. We get to the buying climax. Nice rally for the total 3. But what do you notice? From the top, which is the buying climax, and listen, this point goes higher. In Wyckoff, you call that the UTAD. The buying climax is the true top. This is a liquidity sweep higher. This is the real top. I can show it to you with the RSI, how hot it was. Look, when we go over here, we go higher, but look at the strength of the RSI. It's lower. This is the real top right here. That's the buying climax. Okay? Now, we scroll the total 3 with the Russell. You can see that is the entire rally. Not only is that the rally, that's the whole run, bro. The absolute UTAD of the Russell was the absolute top of the total 3. That was Elon going on SNL or whatever. That was it. This was the entire altcoin rally right here. Okay, now let's go to present day. So what happened first? Let's line it out. Gold tops. The Russell breaks it out into an all-time high. From the time that the Russell breaks into an all-time high until it gets into price discovery, there was a little rally. But it was from the buying climax until the UTAD, the whole distribution right here, the whole distribution, that was the run. So what happened first? Gold tops. That's number 1. Number 2, the Russell breaks out into an all-time high. Number 3, the Russell gets into price discovery, goes into distribution. Number 4, everything else that everyone's been waiting for. Okay, so what has happened here? We have not went higher for a second when I said I'm selling 40% of my gold. Okay, are we seeing signs of distribution right now with gold? Yes, we are. Are we seeing bearish divergences? Yes, we are. Could we get an upthrust out of gold? Yes, gold could go higher and it still be distribution. That's exactly what happened with the Russell. The buying climax was here. The upthrust went higher, but it's way weaker. What do you see right now with gold? And then what are we seeing out of silver? Silver is ripping. We're seeing distribution. Oh my God. Okay. We're seeing distribution from gold. We're seeing early signs of distribution. Okay, so that's number 1. I believe with everything in my bones that gold has topped. Okay, it's the most overbought it has been on the monthly chart. Look at how hot this is, my brethren in Christ. Look at how hot this is. This is the hottest we have been since 1967, brother. 1967, we have not been this hot for gold. Gold can go higher, but I'm telling you the top is in. If it goes higher on price, sure. But the structural top, the buying climax is in for gold. We are seeing distribution now as gold is at a retrace and silver is at an all-time high. What is that? That is dispersing of profits into other assets. That is distribution. All right, so let's recap. Number 1, gold tops. Number 2, the Russell breaks into an all-time high. Number 3, the Russell goes into price discovery. Number 4, the Russell goes into distribution. Then everything else. Okay, so where are we now? Where is the Russell? At an all-time high. Yesterday, the Russell put in an all-time high. This is macro stuff. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be during this live stream. It's not going to be next week, probably. It's going to take some time to play itself out. But why has there been no euphoria? Well, I don't know that we're done. I don't know that to be the case. I don't know that to be the case. All right, so step one, gold top. Step two, the Russell broke into an all-time high. We're at step two. Now, is it going to break into price discovery? That's step three. I think we're going to get our answer before Christmas. I think we're going to get our answer before Christmas if the Russell is going to break into an all-time high price discovery. Now, the alts started to wake up during that run. It wasn't like it was nothing. It's not like we're just going to be dead the entire time. But it wasn't until the Russell goes into distribution that... So we're basically here. We're somewhere in here during the run. You can see, look, if I'm saying we're here, look where it's at on the total 3. Dead, bro. Dead. This same thing happened in 2017 as well. It's not like I'm cherry picking. Same thing happened. Okay? From 2013, if I pull a Fibonacci, let me just do this. I'm going to pull a Fibonacci. Boom. What do you see? When is this rally right here? 2013. All the way. And that was a bull run right there. You came back. 2015. Let's do another one. When I tell you the Russell is not only a key to the castle or a key to the puzzle, it is the puzzle. Same thing here. So the top was 2015. You go over. This is distribution. That was a whole rally. You pull back into January of 2016. Okay? I don't know who's been in crypto in January 2016. Not a lot going on there. The Russell puts in a new all-time high when? October of 2016. Okay? When did things get heated up? We go into price discovery. August of 2017. Come on now, like, bro. And then that was the very top was July of 18. So if I show you July of 2018, like, bro. The price discovery was here. The buying climax. Same thing. We go into price discovery when? September of 2017. October of 2017. You're in price discovery. Look at where we're scrolling. This is the first total 3 run. Okay, so what happened? October. Let's scroll it together. When was the top of the total 3? The buying climax when it was in price discovery. Which was when? January. When did we get to the 1618? For the first time. And you can see this too if you zoom in. Now, the total 3 was an infant then. So this was almost more like a meme coin back then. It wasn't as healthy as it is today. But This is also on the 3-day. Let's put it on the daily. Let's like really zoom in here. And let's put the Russell on the daily. Because I'm going to show you, I think during this big sell-off after you go into price discovery, I'm pretty sure that's when it went night-night for the total 3. What is the total 3? Or not, excuse me, what is the Russell? Like, why am I paying so much attention to the Russell? The Russell signals risk on assets. What is the most risk on asset in the world? Crypto. All right, let's do it together here. All right, so I suspect during this big sell-off right here, even though the Russell went higher, you have to understand the context. 2017, altcoins were infancy. That was like the very beginning. There was like XRP and Ethereum and not too much else. Okay, so let's see. Yes. So this is the first time you get into price discovery. You can see price discovery started here. This is the first time price discovery. Okay? Look at the rally. We're in price discovery this whole time for the Russell. Okay, so it topped before then. But yeah, by the time it topped, it was already over. But the total 3 was an infant back then. But I just wanted to show you, like, I'm not just cherry picking the 2021. If you want to say like no, the same thing was true in 2017 too. It wasn't until, like, I'm going to show it again. It wasn't until the Russell got into price discovery that the rally started. That was it. That was it. That was the rally. That was the rally. Price discovery for the Russell. Now, it was an infant back then. Because, well, let me see. Let's do the total for 2017 because that'd probably be a little bit better. Because, I mean, because the total 3 excludes Ethereum too. I said Ethereum, but that doesn't even include it. I'd be interested to see the total, which includes Bitcoin. Yeah. So that's a little bit more accurate even. You can see, like, if I line it up perfectly here, the whole rally here was from the breakout of the Russell until price discovery. That was it. So listen, we have a setup here. When do you think price discovery for Russell will start? We're at an all-time high right now. Right now. So I think, okay, let's bring it all back. Where are we right now? Let's go back to just the Russell. Because the Russell to me is like, that is the key. That's the whole puzzle. I just wanted to show you that I'm not cherry picking, because I showed you 2017 and I showed you and I also showed you 2021. 2021 was very clear. 2017 was very correlated, but it was more infancy for crypto. But it definitely was more correlated for the total. Total 3 was way more infancy. But still. Okay, so look, we're at an all-time high right now. Right now. The Russell is at an all-time high right now. I think we're going to get our decision, not necessarily that we're going to be in price discovery, but we're going to get a decision, because when you're at an all-time high, there's only 2 things that can happen. That's it. There's 2 things that can happen. You either get rejected or you go into price discovery. That's it. So what does a rejection look like? Does it look like 2 red days, 3 red days, 4 red days, 5 red days? No. A rejection is a lower low off of an all-time high. That would be a rejection. But what I think will happen is we're going to break out a little bit and put in a higher low and then go up. And I think we're going to have our answer before Christmas of what it's going to do. Because I pulled this. So this fractal that you're seeing right here, this fractal is from the C19 crash. This is the C19 crash. I'll show it to you. Into the parabolic run. There it is. Bada bing, bada boom. I've made the case many times that the April tariffs was our C19. April tariffs was our C19. I see 83K soon. Lost support. 83 is not lost support. Lost support. I mean, we're at 89 right now, bro. So you're saying there's a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. My thesis for the rest of the year. I need to see what the Russell's going to do, but I think that the Russell's going to break out into price discovery. That's my gut feeling. Now, let me argue against why it would not. So, I'll give you my thoughts. I'm going to argue why it would get rejected. I'll give you the neutral data, the neutral facts. I just gave you all the neutral facts. And I'll give you my gut feeling on what I think. So, the argument against it. The argument against it is, this is the BCB, who, like, out of everyone in this space, I have more respect for the blockchain backer than any other analyst. Period. I don't care if I agree or disagree. I have more respect for him than anyone in this space. Period. Okay? So, here's his argument to why we're going to get rejected. And this is true. Okay, if you pull a Fibonacci from 2007 to 2009, we are at the 4236 macro extension. The 4236 is maximum parabolic. So he thinks that we're going to roll over. Now, again, I want to say I have more respect for BCB than anybody in this space. However, that being said, he said the same thing about the Dow Jones. And it was true for the Dow Jones. From 2007 to 2009, and I think that there's a fundamental fatal flaw in this line of thinking. And I'll talk about it in just a second. But he said the exact same thing about the Dow Jones from 2007 to 2009. You pull a Fibonacci, you go all the way out. And we topped out. We hit the 4236 extension and ripped right past it. We got rejected and ripped right past it. Why could that be for the Dow Jones? Well, I think that there's an easy fundamental reason that does not take into account when you just look at a Fibonacci over 20 years. The US dollar is not the US dollar from 20 years ago. It's not. It's literally not. And quantitative easing was never a thing before here. This is when quantitative easing happened for the first time. It was not a thing before then. The US dollar is fundamentally a different thing. So why did the Dow Jones go to the 4236, get rejected slightly into 2022, and then rip right past it? Because the US dollar is not the US dollar from 2009. I think you could be the biggest believer in the dollar possible and think that crypto's a scam. And I think that you would agree that your dollar is not the same from 2009. I think we all can agree about that. So when you're measuring it in US dollars, it doesn't take into consideration the devaluation. But that's the argument of why it could get rejected. And it did the same in 2021. It did get rejected in 2021, just like the Dow Jones got rejected in 2021 off of the 4236. Came back into September of 2022. Rejection all the way back into September of 2022. Okay, it's just behind in my opinion. So now I gave you all the data. I gave you the reason why it would get rejected. It's at the macro 4236. That's true. If Bitcoin was at the 4236 right now, I would be telling you to sell. I would be telling you it is time to take profit on my mama, on everything. I do believe the 4236 is maximum parabolic. However, when you're pulling a Fibonacci from 20 years, it does not take into consideration the devaluation of the US dollar over 20 years. So if you want to sit here and say it's going to get rejected, okay, that's why. However, my personal thoughts are it's going to do the exact same thing that the Dow Jones did, which was rejection, which it already did, by the way, come back into 2022, fight with the all-time high, and then violently break out. The Web, thanks for becoming a member for 11 months, you savage, brother. I appreciate you.
But the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
After gruesome bear market of 2022. Yep. That's right. Guess what? It already happened, bro. Like, it's still here. The Dow Jones is not depegged from the Russell. It's not depegged. It's not like the Dow Jones is on a 3-year cycle and the Russell's on a 4-year cycle. No, it's just slightly ahead of it. So when was it fighting with all-time highs at the 4236? January of 2024. After, yes, the 2022 bear market. Yes, correct. Correctamundo. You're locked in on the 4-year cycle. We're not talking about the 4-year cycle. This has nothing to do with the 4-year cycle. I am not saying the Russell is going into a bear market. I'm telling you my feelings are it's going to break out into price discovery just like the Dow Jones did. Here's the macro 4236. When did the Dow Jones get rejected? December of 2021. When did the Russell get rejected? December of 2021. They are together. Yes, I agree. 2022, it did go into a bear market. That's true. It was true for the Dow Jones. It was true for the Russell. The Dow Jones already broke out and has been ripping into price discovery. Is now parabolic. The Russell is at an all-time high right now. Right now. The Russell is at an all-time high right now. How likely is it for Bitcoin to correct to the 70s and then start a rally? 50%. If the Russell gets rejected here, yes, that is how I think Bitcoin will play out. Better to go into the Russell instead of alts? I don't know about that. You have a longer time period of being in the green, less of a time period of being in the red. If you like that, then it's better to go into bonds. Like, just buy bonds. Buy a CD. You have more days that you're in the red, less days you're in the you have more days you're in the green, less days you're in the red. But I don't know that it's better. I don't know that that's a fact. Like, if you look at percentage by percentage, from top to bottom, from worst to best, from best to worst, from medium to medium, I don't know that that's the case. Altcoins are hard. Okay, I agree with that. That's true. That's true. Everyone wants sunshine and Lambos. What is the price? It is hard. It is tough. It is difficult. You do need emotional fortitude. You do need to be ruthless. You do need to be a straight savage. You do have to buy when there's blood on the streets. You do have to get punched in the gut again and again and again and again. That's true. Now, 70% of my holdings are going to be Bitcoin moving forward. I do think you should view altcoins as, like, you know, smaller percentage for sure. Like, I think that Bitcoin should be the bigger percentage for sure. DJ and the Russell broke out. The Dow Jones did break out, is now in parabolic. The Russell is at, my God, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. That's all, folks. All right, listen. The Dow Jones went into parabolic. Spit it out, Sammy. Dow Jones already went parabolic. The Russell, however, is not in price discovery yet. It's at an all-time high. It's slightly behind the Dow Jones. Do you think Bitcoin and ETH will rally back in the first quarter? Yes, I do. It's now worth 1 million. Okay, bro. I guarantee you the same story has been said. You bought the local top. It happens. Like, I did the same thing in 2017. There are some coins that won't recover. That's true as well. I'm down on Dash to this day. I'm down on EOS to this day. I bought the absolute top of Dash in 2017. I bought the absolute top of EOS in 2017. But if you have $3 million, I am certain that you are aware of the 80-20 rule. And it's true in crypto. It's true in everything. It's true in crypto. 80% of your gains are going to come from 20% of your winners. They're going to exponentially outweigh your entire portfolio. And this game is a game of attrition. But I would say with a $3 million portfolio, a large portion of that should have been in Bitcoin. But that's hindsight. Lessons, not losses. If you stick through it. If you give up and quit and you get shiny object syndrome, then it's a loss. If you stick with it, grind it out, learn your lessons, refine, be more process, then they're just lessons. I have bought the top too. I bought the top in 2017. So did my friend. Listen, it happens. I had lots of friends buy the top in 2017. Alt season comes. Listen, let me tell you the truth. Here's the truth. Here is the truth. If you can learn, I don't know how long you've watched me. Alt season does not have a number. Alt season comes when the Russell breaks out and goes into distribution. That's alt season. This box right here, that was alt season. That hasn't happened yet. What is different this time that was not the same in 2017 and in 2021? Both 2017 and in 2021, the Russell went into price discovery. The Russell went into distribution. That's when alt season took place, not some magical number. Will memes be a play? I bought the top of Solana, not going to lie. Brother, I bought Dash at $1,600. It happens. Let me show you my candle on Dash. Listen, for context, Dash is at $46. Dash has rallied to $46. I bought it over here. This was my candle right here. You can't even see where we're at today. I bought Dash. Here's my candle. You can't even see where we're at today versus my candle. But listen, there's hope in the story. The story of redemption. The story of patience. The story of discipline. The story of consistency. Check it out. I was not the only one who bought the absolute top in 2017. I wasn't the only one. I had a whole bunch of friends that bought the top of 2017, just like me. What was the difference? They got shiny object syndrome, and God love them. They got shiny object syndrome and started talking about real estate. Started talking about drop shipping. Started talking about credit card churning. Started talking about whatever. And I doubled down and really refined my process and worked on my craft. That was the difference. Chances Meister gets delisted. 20%. Anthony, have you doubled down on Dash? I have not. I eventually cut my losses, I think in 2020, I don't know, 2022, 2020, probably 2022, or I don't know. This might come back around, by the way. Sure, but it's not about the coin. It's about the principle of being process-based and seeing, like, what was the issue here. Did I believe in Dash or did I FOMO into Dash? I FOMO'd into Dash. Did I research Dash? Did I, like, do TA on Dash? Was it a part of my investment thesis or did I FOMO into it? I FOMO'd into it. I wasn't process-based. It's not about the coin. The coin, maybe the coin goes to an all-time high. I don't know. I'm not shitting on Dash. I'm shitting on my process of how I got there. That was what was incorrect, not the coin. Maybe the coin will do crazy things. I don't know. But what was incorrect was my process. I doubled down on my process. Honest opinion, ICP value play 11, 9, 7, 5, 3. It's still the target, bro. It's still the same. Are you worried about Japan raising rates? That could stop the Russell from going parabolic. It could. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. But the point is, like, you can buy the top of something, have a short-term loss, and learn from it, and make exponentially more. And you're still going to have losses along the way. It's going to happen. But, you know, the point is to be process-based. But I think, you know, the biggest thing that I've learned through all this is, like, there's a million different coins. And, like, you know, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, but, you know, it's the biggest part of my portfolio. It's the biggest position. TK says, so when, if the Russell goes parabolic, alt season will be over by then. Alt season is when the Russell starts to cool off after going parabolic. That's a simple way of putting it. The Russell goes into price discovery and starts to cool off. That's when it's like you get a rotation of capital from the Russell into the most risk on. Why no response? I responded, bro. Okay, so I'll put a cherry on top for you. Here's what I think is going to happen. I'll give you Bitcoin. You can fill in the blanks for altcoins. Here's what I think is going to happen. I have two scenarios for Bitcoin. If both scenarios, by the way, I think Bitcoin rallies to 100K. Both scenarios. All right, let's put a nice little cherry on this whole thing for everyone to have a nice, neat, warm and fuzzy. Where am I at? All right. If the Russell gets rejected, let's start with the bear case. If the Russell gets rejected, I think that the rally will conclude itself somewhere between 100K and 110K. We're going to have higher lows. Like, we might have a 3, 4, 5 days of down, but I think it's going to be a higher low. And I think that the rally is going to be done around 100K. Looks something like so. Rally into 100K. The Russell gets rejected. Bitcoin will probably find itself 77K and ultimately bottom around 72K. And then start marching its way back up into 2026. That's my bear case. My bull case. If the Russell breaks out into price discovery. This was one of the craziest bear traps in history. And I legitimately think 100% it comes down to what the Russell does. Not only is it a part of the equation, it is the equation. That is the equation. All right, guys. That is going to be it for this time. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. Follow me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. If you guys missed this live stream, the whole stream is up on YouTube and you can watch it there. All my live streams live there forever. So make sure you subscribe over there. I am live Monday through Friday. Normally 4:30, 5 p.m. Central Time. I was late today because I had a tax appointment and it threw off my entire day because it took longer than anticipated. But Monday through Friday, that's normally when I go live. Around 4:30 p.m. is the goal. No later than 5 p.m. Central Time. I'm not typically going to be live during the weekends, but I will be posting shorts, and I will be posting in the Telegram group. If you want to get lifetime access to the Telegram group, 2 NFTs at launchmynft.io. Search hedge funds. 2 of those NFTs get you lifetime access to my group, or you can book a call with me. But that is going to be it for this time. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. Peace, love, prosperity. God first. God bless.